Hey, babe, welcome back to another episode of the Money, Mindset, and Manicures podcast. I'm really excited that you're tuning in to this episode today because this has been a common occurrence inside the manuscripting community when it comes to being really excited about your goals. You have everything planned out. You've been using your manuscripting journal. You've designed the plan for your life. And then all of a sudden, maybe after a few weeks, sometimes it happens instantly, sometimes it happens within a few months, but you start to kind of fall into this overwhelm or even this like quote unquote lazy era where you're just feeling so overwhelmed with everything either going on currently in your life or trying to accomplish the goals that you have set for yourself for changing your life. So today I want to talk a little bit about how to overcome this quote unquote lazy era and cultivate motivation towards your goals. Because a lot of times it really just comes down to how you're setting up every single day for yourself, the goals that you're setting for yourself, how big they are, how you've kind of chunked them down. Because when you overlook at this bigger picture of all the things you want to change and all the things that you want to accomplish, you're going to become overwhelmed because right now where you are today in your life is obviously not where you want to be. And the mind starts playing tricks on you. And in turn, it kind of leads into becoming this kind of more quote unquote lazy version of yourself, which is just blatantly just lacking motivation because the goals are so big. So in this episode, I'm diving deep into things that you can start doing today, things that you shouldn't worry about, and a few tools for you to incorporate into your life so that whenever you start feeling overwhelmed or lazy when it comes to your goals, there's a reason for it. And as we go into this episode, I just want to take a moment to, first of all, thank you for listening and tuning in. This podcast has been growing so fast, which is so exciting to see so many of you that are tuning in. I love the comments that I'm getting for you as far as you feel like you're listening to your bestie, which is exactly how I want you to feel when you listen to my podcast episodes. And also, if you haven't done so already, I would love for you to leave a review on the podcast because that way it helps me reach more women that are needing this information. So if you like this episode or listen to any of the others, please just take a moment and leave a review. I would be so freaking grateful. Let's dive in to the common obstacles when it comes to motivation and productivity, because the most common obstacles are things that we face every single day. And whenever you are aware of these obstacles, it's not for you to quit or give up on your goals and dreams. It's actually a signal for you to be like, hey, actually, I am going in the right direction. My brain just hasn't caught up with these new lifestyle choices or these new goals or these new tasks that I'm incorporating. And there's sort of that like glitch happening where your brain is wanting you to stay in your comfort zone, meaning it wants you to feel kind of drained. It wants you to feel kind of overwhelmed. It wants you to, lay back down on the couch or go into bed and feel lazy because it's trying to process and keep up with these new changes. And if you haven't listened to previous episodes, or maybe if you haven't been in the Manuscripting Sisterhood Masterclasses, which I do recommend, it is a free community. I give a ton of information there. And I really recommend you to join that because in those masterclasses, we even go deeper into this stuff, which I'll slowly but surely start bringing over to the podcast. But it's a great resource for you to tap into as far as finding motivation, hearing from other women that are on the same path as you. It's really, really powerful. A couple of the common obstacles that we seem to face when we are on this path to changing our lives. The first one is fear of failure. Unfortunately, that is kind of one of the first things that starts popping into our brains when we want to start something new. And the fear of failing or not meeting our expectations can actually paralyze motivation and hinder productivity. And it's completely natural to feel apprehensive about stepping out of your comfort zone. That is so normal. That's literally what our brain does. It wants to protect us. It wants to keep us safe, even if that safety sucks. Even if that safety means not making more money, even if that safety means not putting yourself out there. When it comes to this, you're allowing your fear to dictate your actions and hold you back from pursuing your goals. So if you are in a place of fear, ask yourself, if I don't change anything about my life, if I don't step out of my comfort zone, I'm going to stay in the same place. And I'm here to tell you, after being an entrepreneur for 10 years, any single new action that I take in my business, in my life, whether it is moving to a completely new state, like I just recently did in the last year, moving here from LA to Austin, not even knowing the city. I'd literally been here once for a weekend, not knowing who my community would be, but I took that leap of faith, of fear, and did it anyway. Because here's the worst thing that can happen. Actually, it's not even the worst thing. This is the best thing that can happen. Even if you take action on that goal, on that thing that you want to do, if you decide to do it, and if you quote unquote maybe fail, then guess what? You can go straight back to doing whatever it was before. Nothing is permanent. So always stepping into that fear is so powerful, because most times when you leap into that fear, it's going to be a life-changing experience. It's going to be a learning experience, and it's going to give you more insight on what it is that you actually want. But if you don't step into that fear, what happens is it's always going to be some sort of dream or idea that you want to do something. And from there, that's all it's ever going to be. It's just going to be a dream. It's just going to be a wish. And later in life, if anything, you might regret that you never took action on it. Second thing is lack of clarity. So if you're uncertain about your goals or not meeting the expectations, these can also paralyze you. And these feelings of lack of clarity or not having that can lead you to feelings of confusion and indecisionness. And is that even a word, indecisionness? But it's going to dampen your motivation because you don't have the clear steps. So with my manuscripting community and anyone that has the manuscripting journal, I say this all the time. You know, you create the vision board, you write down your goals, you have all these big visions and dreams, but where the disconnect happens is, oh my gosh, I want this really big thing, but oh my God, I've never done it before. I have no idea how to get it. So kind of the tool that I give to my ladies in this community is, okay, write down the goal that you want, and next to it, write down where you are today in reference to that goal. So for example, a lot of people in my community, they want to make either more money or find relationships and love, or even something to do with their health, right? So say you have this goal of money. Okay, you want to make $10,000 a month, but right now you're maybe making $2,500. So from there, you want to write down the steps, every single step that you can think of that's going to get you to that goal. Whether it is starting a business, whether it is getting a new job, whether it is doing anything else that you can think of, depending on what that goal is to make that money, write down every single thing that you think you need to do in order to get to that goal. And then once you write down all of those steps, put them in chronological order. Put them like starting with day one. Okay, today I can take this step. This step's going to take me maybe half an hour to do. Sometimes the most easiest steps to take don't take a lot of time. But when you look at the overall goal, of course, that's going to be overwhelming because you don't have a game plan to get there. So I call this the action step plan, and you can find it inside the journal. But with doing that, it's going to give you clarity of breaking down all the steps. Then from there, putting them into your calendar. Whether this is a task that you need to do daily, this is a task that you do once ever, whether this is a task that you need to do weekly, and stick to it. Once you create the game plan for your goal, you're going to have way more clarity, and you're not going to be overwhelmed with taking action because now you've broken down those steps and you have a personal game plan to do. And if you're in a position where you're like, oh my gosh, I want to start this business, but I literally have no idea where to start, right? Then there's the beauty of social media. You can find a business coach. You can search on Google step-by-step plans. Shoot, you can even ask ChatGPT with step-by-steps on how to do X, Y, and Z, and it's going to spit it out for you with all of the steps that you need to take. Next one is overwhelm. So of course, with changing your life, with accomplishing goals, of course, it's going to seem overwhelming at first, or even if you're in the middle of it. I've hit this multiple times where I have overwhelm because there's so much going on. And I always just go back to writing down on a notebook. I literally write down all of the things that are overwhelming me, all the things that I need to do, all the things that need to get done. And I put them in most important to least important. So from there, if I know, oh my gosh, like we're launching a product next month, what's the most important thing that I need to do? Okay, I need to get samples. From there, I can start promoting it on social media. From there, I can set up emails. From there, list goes on and on and on. So sometimes we have all of these things in our minds, which of course is going to create overwhelm because you haven't spit them out on paper. And once you do put them out on paper, you're going to be able to add timelines to that. And again, it goes back to putting it in your calendar, right? Like, when are you going to do X, Y, and Z? And do it one step at a time, because you cannot change your life, start a business, make more money, even get into relationships or deal with your health, right? You cannot do it all in one day, and you can't do it all at once. So by getting really clear on those steps and putting them in a timeline for yourself and getting them all out on paper and get organized, that's really going to help with overwhelm. And then the last one, not least, but these are like the four that I see happening the most, is perfectionism. Perfectionism, gosh, if you're still a very perfectionist, if you're super type A, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like, it's so good that you're a perfectionist, that you want to put out the best of the best and you want to get things done and all of that. But it can also drive you to excel, but also lead to excessive self-criticism. And of course, it leads back to fear of failure, right? So perfectionism can create really unrealistic expectations and hinder your progress. And this ultimately diminishes motivation. So just take a look, right? And I see this happening even with myself, especially when I was at the beginning of my business. I mean, shoot, even today, 3.5, 4 years in, it's really hard, especially when you go on social media, right? And you're looking at someone that's an expert in the space, whether it is with a company, with a personal brand, even with their relationship, right? You see all the perfectionists, like all the people that have done it, that are doing it, that are successful at, and here you are starting at the first step of it, of just having the idea and having the goal that you want. But when you are constantly looking at other people and seeing what they've done, most likely you don't see their first beginning days, right? Because a lot of those first beginning days, unless they're super transparent about it, they're not showing the struggle. They're not showing the time that they put in. They're not showing all the mistakes or the flaws. Like on my personal brand and channel, I do share a lot of that stuff along the way. Like, I've shared a lot of my failures. I've shared a lot of my setbacks, and I love to be transparent about it, because when I was up and coming in my career and my business, there wasn't much of that, right? Because social media, most people just share their accomplishments. And when you're comparing yourself to that, you're doing yourself a disservice, because of course, when you start at day one, it shouldn't be perfect, because at the end of the day, if you wait until things are perfect for you to begin to launch, whether it's timing, whether it is the product, any of that stuff, the website, social media, if you wait till it's perfect, I promise you, you will never launch, because you will always have a reason not to take action on that thing, because you will always believe that you are not ready. Heck, if you've been with me since day one of the manuscripting journal, and if you have one of our first generation manuscripting journals, it looks hell of a lot different than it does today. In fact, me looking back at that first journal, even though at the time I was all like, oh my God, yes, this is great. This is the shit. Like, oh my gosh. Now looking at it, I'm not embarrassed by it, but I'm embarrassed by it, because I'm like, oh my God, how the heck did we blow up this company with this journal? And that just goes to show you how you can evolve. And putting out less than perfect is totally okay, because when you put it out there, that's when you start getting the feedback, whether it is from people, whether it is from your social media, whether it is from customers, whether it is, you're in the dating scene, or maybe you're doing stuff for your health. You just have to start and understand that everything takes time. Even though on social media, it may look like things blow up overnight. For example, there are brands that I follow out there that are like 8 or 9, 10 years old, and they are killing it. And for me, some of these brands, I didn't even get to know until maybe 2 years ago. And when I saw them, I was like, damn, they are freaking killing it with their products, with their marketing. They're so good. And because I had just come across them, I thought they were brand new. And then slowly I learned, oh my gosh, this is like an 8, 9-year-old company. I'm like, wow, I don't compare myself to those companies because I know I am up and coming. Same goes for relationships. I would always look up to and almost be jealous of these couples, that are together, dating, they have awesome relationships, they're married. And for me, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm single, I'm not dating. Like, I just want to accelerate my path to finding the person that I love. And now here I am with Mark and I'm engaged. And it took, it's been a 5-year journey for us. So for me, it's like always remembering and going back to like, okay, where am I beginning? What am I doing for myself? What are the actions that I'm taking in order to put the perfectionism aside and just put my head down and work on these parts of me that is going to make me the best human, to make my brand the best product, and to grow from there. So if you are a perfectionist, I highly recommend, even like with that, like joining the community, because in there you can always like share what you've got going on, get feedback, all that sort of stuff, and just having that outside support as well, because we are our own worst critic. And when you start sharing your goals and ideas and beliefs and all that sort of stuff with other people who are also supportive, like that's the key word, also supportive, not someone that's going to bring your goals down, can be an absolute game changer for you. So I've kind of gone over like the strategies to overcome procrastination and laziness. But again, the main key things here is breaking down those big goals, those big tasks into smaller steps. And when you have a list of smaller steps, I don't know if you're a list maker and taker and you love scratching things off. Like I'm also the type where when I'm on a roll of, getting things done, I'll even add things to the list that I got done just so I can cross it off, right? Whatever you need to have this motivation to keep going is going to really move the needle faster and longer. So regardless if it's, your health, okay, if you want to get healthier, let's start with food and diet. And I don't mean a complete food lifestyle overhaul. Start with removing one thing or adding in one thing. Going to the gym, right? Don't try to do 7 days a week at the gym. Add in a couple. And the other days, maybe just add in walking, right? Same goes for love life and dating. If you're single right now and you're complaining about it, it's like, okay, well, what can I do to meet people to date? Okay, well, are you on the dating apps? I know dating apps get a bad rap, but when you start moving the needle and showing universe and God like you are taking action on it, magical things can happen. Are you putting yourself in environments to meet other people? For example, for me, all it took for me to meet Mark is I changed the time that I went to the gym. I used to go to the gym at like in the morning time, afternoon, evening. It kind of ranged for me because I have a pretty flexible schedule. But I decided, you know what? I'm going to start going to the gym at 6 a.m. And as I was getting to the gym at around 6:15-ish a.m., Mark was just leaving his workout at 6:30. So we met just literally in passing at the gym for the longest time. And then from there, we got to know each other. Things moved on. And 6 months later, we were dating. And it was such a beautiful experience, all because I changed my routine. So for that, what can you change in your routine so you can put yourself in environments to meet new people, whether it's going to the grocery store, whether it's going to the gym, maybe some other extracurricular activities where you can meet people where you're interested in. But the last place you're going to find someone is sitting at home and complaining about it, right? So getting even super specific on the type of relationship that you want. How do you want this relationship to look? How do you want it to feel? What are the correct characteristics of someone that you want? What are the characteristics that you don't want? Maybe from previous people that you've dated that you saw that you absolutely don't want that. What's important to you? What's not? And I promise you, as you get super clear, and I'm not saying the next person that you date is going to be the one, but they're going to show you things that you like or dislike and how you want to feel and be treated and all that sort of stuff. So getting that clarity on those things is super, super important. Same thing goes for business, right? Taking one step at a time. Don't think that overnight, even though social media sells us on being able to do 10K months or 100K months, right? Like, honestly, it's kind of absurd what it's gotten to. And it Also, I know even for myself, when we started the manuscripting journal, when we hit barely over 100K our first year, and we worked really hard to do that. But in other people's opinions, or what people share on social media about how much they're making in their business, for me, that would seem like a failure, right? And I could have easily shut down the business because I'm like, oh my gosh, only 100K, it's a flop, right? Which is crazy to think about, because here we are making so much more just within 3 years of starting this business. So getting really super specific on those things is very, very important. Same thing goes, specific goals and deadlines, which I've already mentioned, is really defining your goals and setting these deadlines for completing them. That's key, because I know when we are on this trajectory of changing our life, no matter what the theme is for you, it's really staying true to those things. Because another thing that happens with our brains is if we set these goals, remember, you want to do these small tasks, small goals, set them for yourself. The more often that you keep pushing them back, for example, oh my gosh, this week was super busy at my job. I was super busy with this, that, or the other. I'm just going to do it next week. I'm just going to do it next month when my schedule is quote unquote less busy. Guess what? Life never gets less busy. You're always going to fill that time and space with something. So why not fill it with something that you are actually excited about and actually excited to move the needle on, versus doing the things that obviously have gotten you to the place that you are today. It's all about removing the things that are no longer serving you and adding in that joy, that excitement, that project that's going to get you to be creative and excited about the future that you are building, because it doesn't happen overnight, but it is accumulation of all the action that you have taken. So if you're sitting here right now today and you're not happy with different places of your life, like, you can thank your past self for all the action that you've taken or lack thereof to be in the position that you are today. So again, you can't predict the future moving forward, but I guarantee you, if you change something about today, it's going to change your future, because you are taking a new action, a different action. And I promise you, the accumulation of taking this action day after day after day after day after day, it's going to come to fruition. Okay, babe, I know you're listening to this podcast because I know that you have a desire to change your life and accomplish big goals, right? But I also know that something has been holding you back on going after those big goals. Or maybe it's that you self-sabotage, or maybe you've set these big goals and you get really overwhelmed and you just don't go after them altogether. Well, I want to introduce you to a journal that is literally going to help you change your life and help you actually manifest and accomplish any desires or goals that you have. It's called the Manuscripting Journal, and it's the #1 selling manifestation and goal setting journal designed exclusively for empowering women just like you to up-level and change your life. Now, if you haven't seen this journal on social media already, I want to share with you that it is literally your personal guide to manifesting your dreams and unlocking your true potential. And inside its beautifully curated pages, you'll discover powerful daily journaling pages, workbooks, and exercises to help you set goals, help you plan your dreams, and manifest the life that you deserve. Plus, the one thing that I had to include, and it was a non-negotiable with this journal, is that it needed to have a community. So you'll also have access to join an online community filled with thousands of women just like you who are on the same path using the journal. So I invite you to join me and these thousands of women who have already embraced the power of manifestation and changed their life using the Manuscripting Journal. And I also want to gift you with a special 15% off code on your first journal order by using the code Money Mindset. The code is Money Mindset. So head over to manuscripting.com today and embark on a transformative journey by ordering the journal. So go ahead, check out the show notes, empower yourself. Answer the call to getting this journal. If this is speaking to you, I want you to join us. It's time to script your dreams into reality with the Manuscripting Journal, because you deserve to create and manifest a life that you're completely obsessed with. See show notes for details. Another thing that I love to do is limit other distractions when I'm in my flow. So for me, My phone sits on do not disturb basically from, I don't know, I think like all day at this point. All day at this point. I don't want to see notifications. I don't want to see texts. I don't want to hear calls until I am ready to have my phone off. And this is because I know for me, whenever someone's texting you or calling you or emailing you or social mediaing you, it's always, they kind of want something, right? It's like always something where, oh, someone wants something from me. Oh, okay, I'm going to take a break from doing this and I'm going to go do that thing, right? It's like that distraction of it. So for me, I keep my phone on do not disturb. And that way, when I am ready to interact with the world, I then go to my phone, see what's come in, reply to what's needed, and take action on the next thing. So that's like a really, really important thing. Another thing that I've kind of started doing as well is really utilizing my calendar. I honestly used to hate using my calendar. I hate being told what to do. And my calendar is like my boss now with telling me what to do, whether it is calls, whether it's recording this podcast, whether it's, creating content or emails. Like I have it set up in a way where Tuesdays, Thursdays, those are my big call days. Like everyone on my team knows, like if you want to book a call with me, schedule a call with me, those are the days to do it. Mondays, Fridays, no calls on that day unless it's super crazy urgent or someone absolutely cannot meet on a Tuesday, Thursday. I'll allow it. But my Mondays and Fridays, they are very much me being in my flow and figuring out what I need to do for the week or something that I can do to prepare for the following week. So those are kind of like my creative days. I'm figuring out what masterclasses I'm teaching. I'm deciding what podcasts I'm recording. I'm doing creative content work, that sort of stuff. And then Wednesdays is just kind of that buffer day. So usually between the call days, whether I have to take action on something or maybe there's a project that I wanted to finish up from Monday, those are my creative flow days. Because the way that I cannot work is jump from a call to creative to call to create. Like that's a huge distraction for me. So I have set days where I can take action on specific things. And that way it keeps the flow of my week really, really, really beautiful. Like truly, I'm able to flow because I know what's expected of me every single day of the week. So cultivating these lasting motivational changes, right? It's all about your mindset. Really, that's what it comes down to. Having a good mindset, positive mindset, having structure, fostering this growth mindset by referring to different challenges in your life as opportunities for growth and learning, right? Like that's a growth mindset instead of running into an obstacle or a problem or a situation that's getting you down, that's making you emotional, right? Like instead of why is this happening to me? You have to reframe it to why is this happening for me? How can we fix this so it doesn't happen again? What do I need to do? What do I need to have the people around me do? Like what can we implement so this doesn't happen again? Because if you have same problems and issues happening over and over and over and over, well, there's a reason for that. Something needs to be changed. Something needs to be fixed. So cultivating this self-compassion and resilience for yourself, that recognizing these setbacks are a natural part of the journey forward, it's going to make you more successful. So if you're in a place right now where you're trying to start something new, and maybe it is going to the gym, and maybe you had a really bad workout, or maybe it's on social media and you posted something and it didn't get the response that you wanted with likes and comments and that sort of stuff, like who cares? The opportunity is there for you to learn. And it's not a reason for you to give up or even going on a bad date or something. Like there's nothing. It's like, okay, why is this happening for me? Right? Let's take a look at it from a standpoint of observing that situation and really digging into how you can prevent this from happening in the future, what you need to change, what do you need to learn, and keep taking action on it. Because the second that you give up on a setback, like the setbacks aren't there for you to give up. They're there for you to learn, grow, and evolve and make whatever that process is even better. Because I can tell you with starting and growing multiple companies, there's been so many obstacles, so many setbacks. And I promise you, if we've had insane, crazy setbacks or obstacles and problems that have come up with growing the manuscripting journal, right? But if I ever just decided one day, and trust me, I have had the thought multiple times, not so much recently because now we have systems in place and people in place and support in place, but there were multiple times where I just wanted to shut it all down, throw my computer out the window and just be done with it. Like truly. But instead of having this mindset of like, oh my God, poor us, like this sucks, we're never going to make it better. I had the growth mindset of like, okay, this happened. It does freaking suck. I'm allowed to get emotional about it, but also what can we do to fix this? Who do we need to bring in to fix this? What can we do on my end to help fix this and nurture this so it does not happen again? And that's how you grow and evolve and become successful. Because I guarantee you, no matter what you are doing, you're going to face that stuff. Nothing is super, super easy. And I know a lot of people, especially in the manifestation world, like everything should be easy and flow and it should just come to you. Not really, because as you are on this trajectory of changing your life, there are things that you need to learn and grow and evolve to be in order to be able to handle the energy of these bigger things. So for example, like if I had a really shitty mindset, like for example, in my love life, right? If I had the attitude of, oh, all men suck and, oh, I'm never going to meet a man and, oh my God, like I'll never, if I had that mentality, there's no way I would have met Mark. No way. Because my energy is literally putting out that I don't want a man. Thinking about how you speak to yourself and how you show up and the mentality of how you show up is such a key thing. Another one that's really good, apart from like the goal setting techniques that I've already shared, is finding your why. And honestly, finding my why was the biggest reason why I haven't thrown my laptop and computer and shut down the manuscripting business, honestly, because my why is every single time I read a review, even with this podcast, every single time I read a positive review or even posting on social media, I'm of course going to get negative feedback and negative comments. Like it's kind of crazy what happens in the online space. But my why is for all of the women that send in a review, that post something about the journal, how it's changed their lives, how the community has helped them and all of that. Like even if I just got one review like that a month, that literally keeps me going. Because I know what I am doing is helping women rise. It's helping women up-level their lives. It's helping them change their lives. It's helping them manifest their goals, right? And I would be doing a disservice if I just shut it all down over a nasty review or comment or feedback, right? Because that just means this content, this episode, the product of the journal wasn't for them and they're not ready for it. So just think about this when you start on your journey, whatever it is that you are doing, like, yeah, you're going to have negative feedback and that is okay. But figuring out your why, like, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for yourself? Are you doing this for your family? Are you doing this for your future generations? Are you doing this for humanity? Like, are you doing this to help more people in the world, right? You always have to come back to that because that honestly, for me, has helped me gain my strength because I was just like you, especially if you're starting on some new thing. Like I've been able to really master in growing a business and growing a beautiful relationship and taking charge of my health and all of these things and all the success that I've had. It didn't start quote unquote great and beautiful and perfect right off the bat. Like there was a lot of quote unquote growing pains, but that's because I had to learn these different lessons. I had to learn how I was showing up in the world in order to then be able to have the energy to hold this massive space, not only for this community, for podcasts, for my life. Like you truly evolve and grow. So I want you to think about what your why is for taking action on that thing that you want. Like, how will it change your life? How will it affect other people in your life? How will it affect the world? Like, truly, like that's going to come down to it. That will also keep you going. And then lastly is creating that supportive environment for yourself, right? I know a lot of women in the manuscripting community, they turn to our community because they do not have a supportive environment, whether it's the partner that doesn't support them, they don't have friends that get it, all that sort of stuff. So tuning in to a community where you can read other people what they're going through, and you can share what you're going through and get support is huge. And maybe it is you're starting a business or you're changing something about your health. Like, lean on the experts, right? Like whether it's hiring a coach, hiring a trainer, even a love coach, right? Like truly, like you can find a supportive environment. And that is super crucial when it comes to starting something new. Because if you're surrounded by people that doubt you or say, oh my God, that idea is stupid. Who are you to think you can do that? Like you're already in this critical moment of life where you're desiring this change. And it's uncomfortable and it's hard because of our brains, right? The second someone tells us you can't do that, or you're not smart enough, or you're not pretty enough, or you're not X, Y, and Z enough, right? That sticks with you and that's going to affect you how you show up. So be careful who you share those plans and goals with. And if anything, like just keep, for me, I didn't have that community when I was starting any of my businesses. So what I did is I just really kind of not only kept things to myself and just did it, but I tuned into podcasts. I tuned into watching different YouTube videos that were very inspirational, very motivational. Like that was my hype team. Because even at the time, way back when, I didn't have money to invest in these things, or I didn't see the value of it. But slowly, as I got my confidence and I grew and I started taking action, I then knew, okay, I'm at a point where I do need support. I do need additional resources, for someone to look at what I'm doing and tell me what to do or tell me what to make better. So there are different stages of where you are at, and you have to decide what type of support you need. But there is free support out there, including the Manuscripting Sisterhood community that's there for you, but also being realistic with what type of support you need. Some of us, we're self-starters. Like me, I'm 100% a self-starter. I will research things to death so I can figure out how to do things on my own. And then some of us, you need that accountability partner, right? You need that accountability, whether it's a coach, a community, a challenge, something like that, to help you stay on track. So you have to figure out what you need and then also take action on that. Put that on that task list, that to-do list for yourself to figure out who that person or people are for you. So those are really my tips for having that motivation, figuring out, how to come out of your quote unquote lazy era, which is just a term for, your overwhelm, your lack of clarity, all of that. But also last part here is dealing with stress and conquering stress and reclaiming that motivation, right? When it comes to stress, I always go back to when I'm feeling stressed out, it just means there's either too much on my plate and I need help, or there's that lack of support and I'm feeling like the world is on my shoulders, that I need to get things done. And recognizing the behavior with that. Like for me, it kind of turns to, I don't know, like maybe like binge eating or, not wanting to go to the gym or, those types of things. So I see those signs in myself, but other ways that you can recognize these symptoms, right? Is like we all feel stressed out. And I feel also that in today's day and age, we have normalized stress. Like I don't know why it's become so normal, but I feel like everyone that I talk to, they're so stressed out. They're so overwhelmed. They, can't think. They have the anxiety. They have the depression, digestive issues, changes in appetite or sleep. Like I feel like we've normalized this so much and it's not normal. It's not normal. It's not healthy for our bodies. It's not healthy for our mind. Because when you are stressed out, like it's going to impact your motivation. It's going to impact your sleep. It's going to play with your mental health, of course. So incorporating stuff to help with your stress is super, super important. So if right now you don't have some sort of mindfulness or relaxation technique or tool that you have, for example, mindful meditations, deep breathing exercises, even writing in your journal, like having a place to release those thoughts. Because again, when we have too much going on up here, like that's how it also manifests. And sometimes just by getting it out on paper, just by doing a 10-minute guided meditation to help you get out of that thought loop is going to do wonders. And then physical activity is huge. I honestly don't know how people live life without exercise, truly. Like if you are not exercising right now, please start incorporating it. I promise you, it's going to help with your mental health so much. Every single day, I'm going on a walk, morning, evening, and almost every single day, I am going to the gym. I'm going to the gym maybe 4 or 5 times a week. So by incorporating this physical activity, you're going to get outside, get that fresh air, or maybe you're walking on a treadmill inside. But this movement is going to help with creativity. There's so many times that I go on a walk and I have all these ideas come in, or I just feel refreshed and I disconnect from the phone, the computer, all of these external things where I can actually get my mind clear. So I love starting my day with that. Sometimes I even go midday if I'm just like, oh my gosh, I've been sitting for so long. I need to get some energy moving. We're not meant to be these stagnant beings that just sit in a chair all freaking day or sit in a car driving all day. You have to get moving. And even if it's just going outside for literally just start with like a 5 minute walk, 10 minute walk. I promise you within those 5, 10 minutes, like you're going to want to walk further. And it is such a game changer. And even if you don't necessarily need or want to disconnect, it's a perfect time. Listen to a podcast as you're walking, right? Like get that motivation into you. That's literally the secret sauce, I think, to life is physical activity. And then, of course, incorporating different lifestyle habits, which is, that self-care. And I know self-care is just thrown around so much now, but self-care is getting adequate sleep. Like for me, I go to sleep. I'm fortunate enough now where I don't use an alarm. I don't have to use an alarm. And it's not because I want to sleep until 9, 10 a.m., but I go to bed at a decent hour and I wake up naturally. I wake up naturally now with the sunrise. Now with the time change, it's been a little difficult, but I'm getting my circadian rhythm used to it because especially as women, like we need 8 to 9 hours of sleep. And I know that seems a lot. And I just read a study where this whole like 7 hours of sleep is needed. That was just on men. Women actually need 8 to 9 hours of sleep plus an extra hour if you're on your menstrual cycle. So getting adequate sleep is huge. As women, we process more, we think more, we ask more questions, we tend to do more. So incorporating sleep is so, so important and it's very much underlooked. And I challenge you if you can or can get to a point because sleep training, like that's the thing. The reason I'm able to now go to sleep and wake out without an alarm without freaking out is because I've trained my body to be able to do that. And the reason I don't use an alarm is because the last thing that I want is I'm deep sleep. I'm in the middle of a REM cycle and my alarm goes off and it's so jarring. Your cortisol spikes. Like how many times have you ever had an alarm go off and like immediately your heart is just racing, right? Like that's not good. You're immediately spiking that cortisol. So trying to figure out a healthy way of sleeping for you, whether it's even getting new bed sheets, getting blackout blinds, using a face mask. I even now use like the mouth tape as well from the Skinny Confidential, which I absolutely love because it's pink and so cute. But doing those things, that's going to help you re-regulate your system and your body. Same thing goes with like eating. Like how are you eating? Are you eating a lot of processed food or not? Like all of that junk is just spiking stuff in your body. There's so much proof around that, right? With additives, with different coloring and dyes and all that stuff in food. And of course, proper hydration. Like I'm drinking water with lemon throughout the day, all day. Now I've limited myself to like 1 cup of coffee first thing in the morning. And then I drink a little bit of pre-workout for my actual gym workouts. But even doing a drastic change with that stuff has helped a lot. And then of course, intake of other substances like alcohol. Like alcohol is such a sleep and life disruptor. I don't even have to add more information on that, but that's huge. Like I haven't drank alcohol now since, and I started this not even because I wanted to quit alcohol, but I started this in July last year I was going into a plant medicine ceremony and you had to be super clean, super clear. So I took out alcohol for a couple weeks and then went into a plant medicine journey. And from there, after that, I just felt so good that I almost did it as far as whenever I went to different events or dinners or this and that. I was like, you know what? I got to a point where I didn't want to break the cycle of not drinking. And the first few months was kind of hard because we're so used to, you're going out, you're having a glass of wine or you're having a tequila cocktail, something like that. And I really had to train myself to not drink. And I started with just doing mocktails like ginger beer and soda. That ginger beer kind of has that kind of alcohol-y taste. So I think for a couple months, I was doing that every time I went out. And now I'm at a point where I don't need it to socialize. I don't want it. And now we're here in March. So we're, coming very close to a year, and I have no plans in breaking that. And I feel so, so great. So lifestyle tips for that is just, it's stuff that is not revolutionary. I know it's stuff that you've heard before, but when you're on this plan of changing your life, it all starts at the daily habits and how you're feeling and how you're looking, right? It comes to that first, and how much energy you have. Because as you're starting on these new projects, these new tasks, these new goals, it's going to take a next level energy for you. So why not be as clear-headed as you possibly can, be as energetic as you possibly can to really show up in your highest self, to be able to take action on these things. And again, lastly, it's that time management and prioritization, right? So looking at those things that you want to accomplish and want to do, it's all about like, what is your priority? Like, is your priority to stay the same as you have been, or is it to change? And only you can answer that, and only you can take action on that. So if anything, it's really figuring out, when is the time to do this? And honestly, I'm going to give you that answer. The time is now, because the days, the time, the weeks, the months, the years, they're going to go on anyways, whether you want to make a change or not. But I know that you were put on this planet. I know that you were listening to this podcast because you want to learn the inside tips. You want to learn the tools. You want the motivation to really change your life. And it comes down to you and taking action. So I would love for you to even DM me on Instagram and let me know what you are going to be taking action on, and join the Marriage Gifting Sisterhood community. In there, I always post lots of different things to get you to answer and engage with where you're at on your journey. How can we best support you? Like, that's what I create these podcasts about. That's what I create masterclasses in there about. There are so many tools out there for you to change, but only you can make the decision to change. So I hope this episode was motivational, was inspirational, but I just don't want it to leave it at that. I want you to implement these things into your life. I'm not a complete life overhaul. I don't want you to do that, because that always leads to failure, because that's going to lead to overwhelm and so many other things, right? But to start taking action on one thing that you can at least do today, and you can commit to yourself to do for the next 30 days. And I promise you, you will be on a path to changing your life. So I thank you so much for listening to this episode. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions or if it inspired you in any certain way. And I hope to see you inside the Marriage Gifting Sisterhood community. I love you so much.